I'm ranking all of the legends in Apex from who's the most boring to who's the most fun to play. So let's go. The most boring legend in all of Apex Legends to play is Gibraltar. Gibby is by far the most boring legend, and it's mostly because he's such a large legend. Running, sliding, moving, I mean, basically everything you do with him just feels super slow and clunky. You're a huge target, and yes, you're fortified, but you're gonna be getting focused a lot in fights. His ultimate ability is on such a long cooldown that you might only get to use it once per match if you're lucky. And yes, his bubble is good in certain moments, but it's by no means fun to use. Next up is Crypto. Now I know there's a few loyal Crypto mains out there, but Crypto is straight up super boring to play. If you're actually having fun being on your Game Boy, flying around your drone like an irritating mosquito, and there's seriously something wrong with you. There's nothing fun about scanning beacons or having to be so far from your team to use your ultimate that you can't even be there to help in the fight. Crypto's abilities are definitely an outlier in terms of how well they fit into the Apex games when compared to other legends. And I think a lot of you will agree, he's just not that fun to play. Next is Wattson. Now, Wattson is extremely useful at times, sure, but useful doesn't always equal fun in Apex. Personally, I don't find it that fun to be setting up camp in a house with fences. There are some fun troll things you can accomplish with this legend and her fences, but it often requires the help of other legends, or you just simply have to be a pretty good player to successfully bait your enemies into your territory. Certain players can make her look fun while they hold down a building and trick enemies with their fences, but I just don't typically enjoy playing her. I think there's some better defensive legends that are just more fun to play. And the same thing could be said for Rampart as well. Most defensive legends just aren't cut out for super fun gameplay. She does get a few extra bullets with LMGs, which is pretty underwhelming, and her walls are simply not meant for action-packed fights or flashy movement. The only real thing that could be considered fun is her ultimate Sheila, and that's if you don't get rolled while using it. But I do have to say, blasting through a door, killing enemies on the other side of it, or just annihilating a player that thinks they can challenge her turret can be hilarious to pull off. Originally, I had her way lower down in this list, closer to the fun side, but after playing some games with her and trying to get clips with her, I was like, okay, she's really not that fun. The ultimate is a sliver of the pie that makes her fun, and the rest of it just doesn't really equal that great of a time. Next is going to be Seer. I think we all can agree at this point that Seer does not add any fun to the game of Apex. He removes the need for any real skill or game sense, and practically has in-game cheats. And I'm sure I'll rile up a few of you by saying that, but let's wake up here. This legend is busted, and it's boring as hell to have these cheesy advantages over your enemy in every single fight. Where's the fun in that? Alright, next we have Vantage. In general, Vantage's abilities aren't super fun to use. I do have to say her movement ability leaves something to be desired when you compare it to other movement legends, and her passive just simply provides some extra info. Her ultimate, on the other hand, can be a blast to use because sniping has been an extremely satisfying method to stack up kills in first-person shooter games for a long time now. Vantage is really no exception. Her special sniper packs a massive punch, making it easy to pick off enemy teams as you laugh from 300 meters away. It's kind of like using the charge rifle. Extremely annoying to deal with when it happens to you, but pretty fun to do to others. Wait, what? I don't use the charge rifle. Alright, next up is Lifeline. Now, having the smallest hitbox of any legend in the game can definitely make running Lifeline a bit of fun. Not to mention, having a way to self-heal can be super convenient at times because you can heal and fight, and that's pretty cool. However, a large part of Lifeline's kit usage really revolves around needing a team. And not just that, having them go down in a fight. Having your teammates spam ping or yelling at you to res them while they're in the worst possible spot to be resed is anything but a good time. Her ultimate is also nothing to write home about. It's pretty underwhelming at times. I mean, certainly it can come in handy, but it also just alerts any nearby teams that you're over there. And if you have a squad, playing Lifeline may be a bit more fun because you can really fulfill the support role, but if you're playing with randoms, it's not super fun in Season 15. Number 16 on the list, we have Bloodhound. Now, like Seer, Bloodhound's scan abilities aren't what most people would consider fun. Their ability also removes any need for actual game sense or reactive thought. But I do have to say the only real thing that Bloodhound has going for them is the speed boost they receive when they're in their ultimate. When you're using this, you're essentially just as fast as a stimmed Octane, making you strafe much faster in gunfights and becoming much more difficult to hit. But also having your vision turn to black and white while your opponents are highlighted in red is a pretty cool feature as you use this ability. So I do have to say their ultimate is the funnest part about their kit. Beyond that, not super fun. Number 15, Revenant. Let's just call a spade a spade. Revenant is a troll pick. This is the only real thing that makes playing him any fun. Climbing creepily up tall buildings or mountains, unexpectedly catching your enemies by surprise. And maybe you could consider temporarily taking away other enemies' abilities, fun too. But beyond that, nothing will really convince me that using this character is in any way a great time. He has an extremely large hitbox, which means he takes a ton of damage. His ultimate's pretty lackluster and often needs to be paired with other Legends abilities or pulled off at the perfect moment. So all in all, kind of middle of the road here. Next on the list is Valkyrie. Now at a former point in time, Valk might have been much higher on my list, but as it stands now, she definitely doesn't seem to offer the same level of entertainment that she used to. In the right hands, her movement ability can be slippery in a fight, but in reality, she sort of pales in comparison on the fun level when compared to other movement legends. Her jetpack can feel kind of clunky, especially since it's bound to the same button as jump, and it's generally outplayable when you're going up against one. However, she's still a very strong legend, but she was just never really my favorite. I know a lot of you guys will think Valk is still fun in Season 15 though. Number 13, Catalyst. While she's still new to the game and certainly not perfect, Catalyst is proving to be a pretty fun pick so far. Her passive ability to reinforce doors can make any offensive push quite annoying and difficult. She's still able to open these doors and poke at the enemy at her leisure, which can make dealing with her extremely dangerous. She definitely still has a few bugs going on, and that can prove to be aggravating to play with, but given time, I imagine these will get worked out, making her that much more entertaining to play. Now, maybe it's just because she's new, but there is some fun outplay you can learn to do to your opponents with Catalyst Kit. I think we'll see more of that in the upcoming months. Number 12, although Newcastle is a big legend like Gibby, his abilities are much more fun than his. He feels like he has a lot to his kit that not only makes him viable in different scenarios, but can also add some unique features to Apex's current gameplay. His ultimate has mobility to it, and when it works, it can truly be a fun ability, and he allows for a lot of great resets during fights if one of his mates goes down with his extremely helpful passive. So I like Newcastle. He's certainly not like top tier in terms of fun, but I think a lot of people are still sleeping on him in terms of his utility and how fun he can be to play. Number 11, Ashe. Ashe is another middle of the road pick. She's fun in certain moments because the use of her tactical and how it can halt her opponent's plans. I mean, it's pretty funny to catch an enemy trying to get away, you use your Ashe tether, and then you get them brought back right into your line of sight. They aren't usually expecting things like that. Her portal can be pretty good at times as well, but it can also be really annoying. Sometimes it doesn't correctly read where you want it to be placed, and this can waste precious time in a battle. But having the portal not go where you want it to is frustrating, and that's why I can't put her up too high on this list. Okay, now we're getting into the fun legends in Season 15. Some of these could be swapped around, but here's my top 10. Starting off, number 10, Loba. Loba's a pretty fun legend to use these days. I think there's two main reasons why. First, she can speed up you and your squad's looting habits while hopefully getting an item or weapon that you actually like to use. This is helpful because looting can be fairly tedious at times and not really fun, especially when you're looking for something particular and you just can't find it. The second reason is though, she can navigate in and out of some tricky situations with her tactical. Now, although I wish her tactical was a little bit better, she's still a unique legend that has mobility and support aspects, so she's great for solo queue or with a squad of friends. Number 9, Bangalore. Bangalore is probably one of the most simple legends in Apex and yet still offers a good amount of versatility. What makes her fun? Well, her double time passive allows for some great movement during engagements, and her smokes and missiles can help stall fights or move them forward if it's time for you to strike. She's one of the legends in Apex that I think is perfectly balanced and can offer some great offensive or defensive components to a game like Apex. Just don't blind yourself or your teammates with her smoke, because it's not too good of a time. Number 8, Octane. If speed is what you crave, then Octane is your go-to pick. There's virtually no cooldown on his tactical, allowing for you to spam it constantly and zoom across the map, or sometimes to your death. But regardless, you still had fun getting there. No other legend can offer this kind of constant satisfaction the way Octane's speed does. And his ultimate is a jump pad, so the possibilities are endless for ridiculous and fun things you can do with it. It's not as good as it once was, but it's still pretty fun in Season 15. Not to mention the insane outplay it can offer if you're able to tap strafe or do some other crazy movement mechanics while using it. Of course, losing all of your HP before even getting in a fight or getting easily beamed out of midair doesn't really spell out fun, so you gotta be careful at times with using his abilities. But overall, I think you guys can understand why Octane has such a high pick rate in Apex. Number 7, Fuse. Fuse's abilities are just straight up meant to cause chaos, and who doesn't love causing a little chaos? Stockpiling nades and hurling them at the enemy with reckless abandon can make you feel unstoppable at times. His knuckle clusters can reach an insane distance and are incredibly annoying to those trying to stay hidden from you. His ultimate can be a little tricky to use at times, but in certain situations like small enclosed spaces, you can literally send your enemies up in flames with the click of a button. Not to mention, pairing Fuse's abilities with some of the other legends, well, it can create even more chaos. I think you can have a good time with Fuse trolling or just messing around with his abilities, because honestly, there's nothing really like it in Apex. Number 6, Horizon. Horizon is one of the hottest picks in the game right now, and it's not just for any old reason. Horizon can be an absolute nuisance with her mobility, but also has a very low learning curve, making her an excellent pick by someone of any skill level to have a blast in this game. Her passive pairs right along with her tactical, making for some of the smoothest and quietest of landings for sneaking up on people with ease. Her ultimate also has a very satisfying potential if you're able to pair it with some grenades, but it's easily shot out and rendered ineffective, so it's not always reliable. However, I would argue that the reasons why this legend is so fun is really because of her passive and her tactical. The mobility at times may seem a little bit annoying to deal with, which it certainly can be, but it's fun to navigate through the air and float around to high ground or drop off to low ground without any stunning effects. 5th on the list is Mad Maggie. Now, Maggie's a very aggressive legend, and aggressive legends are fun. She boasts a run and gun style of fighting, and her shotgun passive makes her an extremely up-in-your-face pick. Just like with Fuse, coaxing your enemies out from behind what little cover they may have, but with a searing burning drill, is honestly pretty entertaining to do. Not to mention, it's hilarious to bounce an enemy in the air with your wrecking ball and then blast them with your weapon. I die laughing every time I do this to someone. Number 4, Wraith. Now, despite all of the stereotypes, Wraith is a fun legend to play. You have a very tangible repositioning ability in her tactical, which I must say can allow for some serious outplay, especially when you combine it with her ultimate, a portal. She definitely has a high skill ceiling, so learning what ways to use her abilities can be a fun aspect to Apex. But she also has a very smooth animation when it comes to just running, sliding, jumping, or just about everything in the game. Now, she doesn't move faster than any of the other legends, but it kind of feels like she is. And the last thing I like about her is her small hitbox. This can allow for her to not take a ton of damage during fights. If you learn to kidnap opponents with her portal, you're definitely gonna have a good laugh with your friends. Number 3, Mirage. While maybe not the most useful legend, okay, definitely not the most useful legend, Mirage is still an absolute blast to play as. Your entire kit is literally centered around fooling your enemies. Controllable decoys, invisible revives, invisible respawns. It's all meant to confuse and bamboozle your opponents. And so much fun can be had with Mirage when used correctly. You can also use some of his emotes to confuse your opponents too. I mean, watching your opponent fall for the decoy as you one-clip them can be a hilarious moment to be had in Apex. Number 2, Caustic. All right, some of y'all are just not gonna understand this one, but Caustic can truly be one of the most fun legends to use. The gas traps are a great way to annoy your opponents and at times gain a huge edge over them. The amount of trolling a Caustic can do is, I think, unmatched. Blocking doors, trapping people in at bunker, and then using his ultimate to watch them slowly die to the gas as they struggle to get out of the room. I mean, it's all a great time. Now, he obviously isn't gonna be super strong or really that fun to play when you're transitioning in the open with him, but get him in a building and learn to make your enemies go mad with his gas. We truly love Caustic here. Okay, coming in at the top at number 1 has got to be Pathfinder. The actual skill gap for this character may be a bit high, but it's also the most rewarding out of all of the legends. The way you can take full advantage of the in-game physics and do things no other legend in the game can do is quite simply the definition of fun. His grapple offers outplay ability throughout a fight or even just transitioning throughout the map. This ability starts to be really fun when you figure out how it works and where it works best. Grappling roofs, grappling the ground, swinging off the side of something, on and on and on. The downside to Pathfinder is his large hitbox, but that doesn't take away in this list to his grapple. If you enjoyed this video and you want to learn about 6 low-key tips that will help you improve in Season 15, I suggest you check out this video here. Thanks for watching. Peace.